right.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian. Joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Howdy ho. These sandshell turtles are douchebags. I'm just telling you.
You have a what?
Playing,
you have a turtle?
Portal Night.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also joining us is your co-host, Hunter.
What's going on, everybody? I'm a little sick, so bear with me.
Well, we're happy to have you regardless. And hopefully, finally, co-host Spaz.
Brought to you by copious amounts of caffeine.
Aren't we all? I don't know how many monsters I've had over the last couple days. We have some guests with us tonight, my friends. Joining us from first Atlanta, Georgia, we have Jace Masula.
What's up, guys?
Oh my God, not again.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Bring the kitchen sink with you.
We also have. Oh, sorry to hear you're sick, AC. Also joining us from South Carolina, Jeremy and Gianna. I hope I said that right. Masula.
Gina,
excuse me. I hope I spelled that right. I'll have to get it from you later. These are the guys behind the upcoming sequel to Astrox Hostile Space Excavation called Astrox Imperium. Now, I'm going to be honest, we have not had time to play the game, so we are pretty much coming into this blind. So we're gonna let's start from the very beginning, and
all right,
because we had you on a while ago, like what, about 2 years ago, I think,
I'd
to
say
talk
about
talk about Astrox. Yeah, because that came out in 2015, so it must have been about 2 years ago. Big fans of that, folks. If you haven't played Astrox, by the way, it is $10, and it is great. It is a really just complete, really streamlined, really fun experience that is worth 3, 4, 5 times that much. It's like a really great game. Whoa, that you should definitely check out. That's okay. But now there's going to be a sequel. So tell us first when you started working on the sequel.
I started working on it almost a year ago. I started trying to do updates to the original Astrox, and I decided, I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm not done with this yet. I still got a lot more. The void that it used to fill wasn't filling that void anymore, so I just wanted to keep growing it. And I started working on the concepts for the ship editor. And I thought it would be really interesting to open the game up to allow a lot of the other players that were trying to make modifications to the game to give them the ability to start to do that in a much easier way by integrating the actual editors into the game itself.
Oh, nice.
And
so does that mean you're going to workshop content this next one?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
So, yeah. So basically, when I started working on it, I hit the limitations pretty quickly. And the original Astrox was built to start as a browser game. So I had expanded the best I could with, what I knew at that time. And when I started looking back through the old code and things, I'm like, well, I got to fix this. And I have to go and redo the way I did this. And if I'm going to add this in, then I got to do these. And it got to a point and I said, I got to change everything. And if I'm going to change everything, then why not start from the ground up, rewrite everything from scratch, and do it the right way as a standalone PC game versus a browser-based game. So that's kind of where it started. I want to say it was almost last November. So it was about a year.
So the first one, was it Unity, but it was browser Unity, or what?
Yeah, well, yeah. It was all developed in Unity, but Unity could export, the older versions would export into this Unity web player, which has now been discontinued and caused all kinds of weird stuff. But what ended up happening is, by developing for the web player and releasing on Congregate, I had limitations to file sizes. I had limitations in lots of areas. So I said, I'm going to strip all that away. I'm not going to have any limitations. I can do high resolution textures. I can, make use of a good graphics card and see how far I could push it. And that's kind of what started.
Unlimited textures.
That's kind of what Palpatine would say.
So yeah, it's been about a year, just about.
So what engine are you using now?
I'm still using Unity.
I've
gotten much better at it.
Teach me.
I'll be more than happy to get you started. It took a while to kind of really get a grip on it. It's not, it's not people think like, oh, you just, you watch a YouTube video, make a game, Unity sucks. And I'm like, yeah, you can make shitty games with anything. But, if you really learn what that software is capable of doing, it is pretty robust, in my opinion.
There are several examples on Steam of first day attempts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can sympathize.
Those are like
it's not easy.
Those are like acid store flips. Is that what you're talking about? Like,
no, not even that good.
Oh,
I mean, it's just
shit.
Oh God, but nothing's quite as good as Milky Boobs. That's my champion title.
Come on.
I can't.
Let's not.
I can't.
Let's not.
I'm gonna write off and see if he'll send me a code.
No. And the sad thing is he's not lying, folks. There is a game with that title.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, let's not talk about it anymore. It's
never speak of this.
You know what? On next week's show, we're talking about how much crap and how hard it is, how much crap is on Steam, and how much stuff is on Steam. We could save that for next week if you want.
Oh yes. Yes.
There are some good examples of Unity being used in terms of some of the games on Steam as well.
Oh, of course. There's a lot of really great Unity games. We've talked to so many developers that use Unity, and really love it. But yeah, there's also a lot of
there's a lot of garbage out there too.
A lot of garbage. That's
a lot of low quality stuff.
That's a nice way to put it, garbage. What would you say are the big differences between the original Astrox and the new one, Imperium?
Oh, there's quite a bit. It's like I said, it's redesigned from the ground up. So what I did is I read all of the suggestions and all of the reviews, and I chewed on it for quite some time to figure out what were the key elements that made such a simple game fun. Like, what was fun about it? Because I've played a lot of space games where, I mean, they've got beautiful graphics and beautiful mechanics, but it just wasn't fun. And you're like,
Elite.
Elite. Yeah, perfect. That's a perfect example. Perfect example.
Yeah,
because
we had a long thing about Elite, but I went into Reddit today and there was some stuff, and I posted in the thing. We'll touch that tomorrow, or next week. Whatever.
Yeah, we can talk about that next week.
But it's a thing of like, basically somebody just hit it on the head. It's like they made this awesome sandbox but didn't put any sand in it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it.
So, yeah, and
let's not harp on it too much.
But I'm getting to something. So the deal with Astrox, right? Because it's almost like that game fell not quite in like the idle clicker category, but it was a super casual game because at least as far in as I played it, it was a couple hours, right? But it was like the game never got like hyper aggressive about murdering me. It was just kind of like I could just kind of chill, and like
it's Zen kind of game.
Yeah. So it's I think it reaches a different audience in that, because it's like because a lot of comparisons with Eve online, and especially like the way that mining worked in Eve. Then did that continue after that? Because it's like I saw it mentioned a couple of times in the Steam reviews and that. And is that kind of the same vibe that you're looking to preserve with the new one?
Yes. And I've actually been in a lot of debate with Jeremy about this. How much of the idle stuff is fun? And when you get to a point where I don't want it to be an idle game, it's not a game where you just like let it run itself, but I do want it to have certain elements that I personally enjoy. I want to be able to say, okay, I got to go eat dinner, so I'm going to make my ship fly here. I'm going to set this up because it has this, I don't know, there's just something very appealing to having this kind of simulation running and doing what it does on its own. And you're still part of it, but you can walk away from it for a minute. You can be like, I'm going to mine these 3 rocks and go take a shit. Yes.
Okay. Because in the first game, it was just you.
Yes.
And now you can actually like have fleets go do your bidding, right? So,
well, it's not just going and doing your bidding. So after Astrox, Hostile Space Excavation, I said, I'm not playing enough AAA games to really know what the standard is. and just putting any kind of game on Steam, you're going to deal with a lot of weirdness where, I'll have one guy that is like, man, this is a really fun game and I really enjoyed it. And the graphics look like they're from 1990, but it didn't matter. And I was still able to really get a lot of fun out of it. And then the review underneath of that is the graphics look like from 1990. I can't stand it. And there's definitely a way that you can, well, what I'm trying to do is preserve those certain elements that made that game fun for the people that got into it, that were actually playing it. And now I'm going to upgrade the graphics to kind of meet that criteria with some of these AAA games. So I started playing a lot of Fallout 4. I started playing some Ark Survival Evolved. I went through and I learned a lot about just what the standard controls were for some of these games. And, when you're
something else to add to it too, like something we noticed, or at least, we felt like there was a niche market of like a space survival game, kind of like what Ark is doing, in a sense where you have to sustain yourself, and like that's something that I haven't seen the market at all. So I feel like that's, a niche market that Astrox Imperium can definitely fill, and that's kind of something that we're trying to make almost like a survival genre out of the space genre.
Okay, now I want to give you big hugs and stuff, because that's the thing that, like, we'll go back to Elite again. That's the thing. There's no struggle there, right? It's like I'm not paying upkeep on my ship. I'm not doing, it's like, okay, yeah. I've got this thing. There's only forward progress, and there's really no resistance other than the enemies that are too easy to kill anyway. So it's really just sort of a time investor thing.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking for is more like, okay, just the nature of the game resists you, kind of how Ark does, right? It's like your shit will decay, you just leave it sit, and then of course you come back and it's like, oh damn, something came in here and ate all my dinosaurs, because my wife plays Ark a lot, and it's just like the yell of disgust and rage when she logs in, and it's like, oh my god, what happened, and it's like CSI. It's like, let's look at the scene of the crime and figure out
find out who did what. Yes. So to answer your question about the fleet mechanics, a lot of my inspiration for that is coming from kind of how the way Ark is letting you, you don't tame the dinosaur, or you're not taming another ship. You're befriending these pirates, or you're befriending these other people that are out in space. And depending on whether or not you decide to help them, or maybe they're in the middle of a battle and you want to go and help them out, or maybe you want to join the battle and help kill them to take their stuff. The way that you play is going to open up the way that the whole faction system works. There's 6 main factions with 12 sub factions, and the things that you do and the way that you interact with the other NPCs are going to give you the ability to hire other captains, and they're going to join you with their ship.
Have you played any Drox Operative?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right, we're going to stop the show here, and you're going to go play about 10 hours of Drox Operative.
Yeah, you're going to want to play Drox Operative. It's great.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. So, the whole thing about, you'll be able to get members into your fleet, and then, you'll be able to switch ships with them. You'll be able to equip the ship and say, I want this guy to go and mine rocks in this system. So you're going to set him up a ship that's perfect for that. I mean, you could send him out in the ship that you hired him in or befriended him in, or you could, build him something much better that's going to make him much more efficient. And it's going to help to kind of progress your player towards the more outer sectors, because the way the galaxy map is set up now is completely different than it was in the original Astrox. The way it's set up now is you're able to explore, where in the first Astrox it was extremely linear, where each sector was like a level. You're trying to get past the next level of the dungeon or the next stage, where this Astrox Imperium is much more free roaming, to where you can say, I'm gonna try to get out to here. Now you do have survival limitations. So in the new Astrox, you have life support systems where you're going to need to manage these 4 components, from managing your food synthesizer to your water filtration, your thermal heating, and most importantly, your waste disposal. The shit has to go somewhere. So by putting all of those things together, you can then kind of have the ability to get further away from civilization, to where you can start finding better resources, find another area where civilization is closer, because those sectors are not going to appear on your map until you start exploring them. So you're not going to.
That also kind of acts as a gate of sorts where,
Yes.
you know, until you upgrade your modules to a certain point where you can sustain yourself to get far enough out in deep space to make it to the next step. So that's kind of going to be, you know, the checks and balances in terms of when you're ready to progress to the next stage.
Now, let me ask you something. The survival stuff you're talking about. If someone, say you're someone like me who hates that sort of thing, is there a toggle to turn that off? Is there like a way to turn
there's gonna be so many freaking options. You'll be able to play the game. You could dumb it down back to almost the original kind of Astrox procedural playthrough style.
Oh, yay!
But you're also gonna have a lot more elements to tweak and a lot more things to play with.
See, I like options, and I love the sound of all the exploration, because I don't know if you know, but exploration is probably one of my favorite things in space games, and not a lot of games do it really well. So it's really good to hear that that's kind of a focus here. I'm really excited about that. Yes,
very much so. And that kind of leads into another thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, when I was playing Fallout 4, I realized that you don't have to make everything procedural. You don't have to have these things generate themselves to create this explorative nature, which, you know, I think I was kind of trapped in that mindset for many years, to where almost every kind of game that I was developing always had this element of this procedural creation to it, to the environment itself, not just for the graphic stuff. You know, it's fine that you want to procedurally generate some graphics, but when I was, you know, creating those sectors and where rocks would go and how things would be placed, I was actually creating a lot of the gameplay, you know, elements that would affect whether or not a player enjoyed or even had fun, because he could have generated a really shitty map that gave him very few rocks. And, you know, he starts playing the game. He's like, this is not fun. I can't even get off the ground. And then someone else could play the same thing with their random generation, and they're saying, this is really easy. You know, it's not enough of a challenge to me. So after playing Fallout 4, I decided I was going to have Astrox Imperium do both, to where the campaign and the storyline and everything is in a non-procedurally generated world where I can hide goodies in areas and create the kind of mood and feeling and atmosphere while exploring. And then I can also have the procedural side where you can generate your galaxies just like you could in the original Astrox, where you're not playing a storyline mode, where you're not going to find that lady living in some space cabin in the middle of nowhere. In the procedural mode, you know, there'll still be a lot of those generalized missions and general encounters, but it's not going to have that campaign tied into it.
And I wanted to add too, like one of the big things in the original Astrox was that there was no like story element, and that was a big thing feedback wise that we were looking into to try to create a dynamic story.
The story we got is amazing.
Basically,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
we have worked on it for quite some time.
It sounds like you're giving players the best of both worlds. If they want a story, they can have it, but if they don't, they can just go off and do whatever. Or you can do both. You can do and finish the story, and then be like, I want to, like a new game, like a new game mode, basically. And so I want to play. Yeah, I want to play again, but I don't want to deal with the story beats. Kind of like what Diablo 3 does in a way. Like Diablo 3, you got to go through the story, but then it opens up that adventure mode where you can just do whatever. So that's kind of what that.
I mean, that's a lot like Fallout 4, where you know you can pretty much like get to max level and never really touch the main, you know, story.
Right.
That's right. My survival save right now, I'm at level 100. I speak to Paladin Dance. I still haven't talked to him yet.
Oh, we have a question from Twitch. Can you have like a mixed experience where like there's a story portion of the galaxy that's static and then maybe some procedurally generated sectors as you go, or are they separate?
I absolutely can mix them. I don't want to give away too much stuff, especially because that kind of ties in with the ending. But yes, to answer the question flat out, yes, that's pretty much the direction that we're going.
That's even better.
So, and you touched on it as well, saying, you know, once you finish the storyline, you can continue to play in like that kind of adventure exploration mode, where I can make it to where it just generates as far as you want to explore. You know, the farther out you go, it just keeps generating more stuff to look at and more places to go. And
so why don't you give them a taste of some of the exploration ideas that we came up with?
Oh, I can't wait. See, it's interesting you bring up the static portion of all this, because one of my favorite games is 1986's Starflight, and that had some of the best exploration I've ever encountered in any game, and it wasn't procedural at all. Like, the map is the same every time, but there's just such a big map with so much stuff that you're still finding stuff on the second playthrough, on the third playthrough, you know, so you're right. You don't need a procedural. I love procedurally generated stuff, but I kind of worry it's becoming a crutch.
I think that ways. I don't know if it's just even. I'm not disagreeing that some developers use it as a crutch, because I've been guilty of that myself. You know, you don't have to generate the content if it's procedurally generating itself. However, you know, I think what ends up happening is there's something magical about making the world create itself. And then you do this and you're like, look at this thing that I made. But the truth is that thing you made really isn't that fun. You know, and I've seen a lot of games, No Man's Sky, that has a lot of the procedural stuff, but it's not adding to the element of fun or exploration. It's really just being procedural for the sake of saying this was generated procedurally. So it's kind of like, you know, look how close to God I got by, you know, making something create itself. And
it's like almost its own built-in excuse.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. It's you're doing it for the sake of saying that you are able to procedurally generate this much, but it's always falls short. I have yet to see a procedurally generated game where it doesn't fall short. You're like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. So
again, I think the closest
roguelikes, maybe. Roguelikes can
there you
pull
go.
that off.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And again, Astrox Operative is, I think, maybe some of the closest I've seen, where you have a randomized sector, but it's still so full of things to do that, you know, it feels like kind of more staticky. You guys should. Well,
the reason I brought Astrox Operative up, right, is imagine you're playing Diablo in space, because that's what it is. And then there's different planets, and the different planets are alien species that like each other more or less, depending on who they are. And they are playing basically a 4X game in the background, and you're one guy that's out there, and you take missions from them. And, you know, it's like, hey, go recover this artifact, or go explore that planet for us, or whatever. And then as you succeed in the missions for them, it actually advances them in their 4X game. So you can assist them to spread across the map, or you can hinder them, or whatever. And you basically get a reputation meter with each of the different races. So,
and there's multiple ways to win or lose, in fact. So that's what makes it just a little bit different than, I mean, yeah, there's a 4X being played around you, and you decide what your role in that will be. But from game to game, that can change. You can decide which factions you want to help. You can decide whether or not you want to put them into some giant federation of different races, or turn 2 against 1 and have just 2 standing on an alliance of sorts, militarily speaking.
If you couldn't tell, we really love Astrox Operative, like, a lot. And
yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I got it written down.
You know, honestly,
I'm a big Diablo fan too.
Oh God!
If it had the graphics of like an X game or something, it would be
forget
just
about
astounding.
It. It's super indie, super indie. But you guys get that, so I'm sure that won't dissuade you. But yeah, that game. Oh my God. Anyway, back to this game. So yeah, the original Astrox did not have much of a story. There was kind of a story, like kind of inferred, but it wasn't
slightly.
But it wasn't like in your face, you know. But so what is like? Do you have like a bullet point type thing you can tell us about the story? Like, what are like some of the?
I can give you an overview.
Yeah,
I can give you a
brief
overview. Okay, so basically, I just posted a picture of the Imperium factions. But basically the way it works is the humans were down here running around on the planet doing their thing. And these kids in a college started to pick up the signal that they believed was some kind of alien race trying to contact us. And they got a lot of, flack for it, and eventually found some supporters that funded them enough to really, build the stuff that they needed to capture this signal. And when they did, they decoded it and found out it was like software programming. It was like code. So they had to build a computer that would be able to process that code. And when they did, they discovered that it was an artificial intelligence. And they boot this thing up, and the first thing the AI tells them is, hey, you're all going to die. So, of course, the world's like, what the hell is going on? And the AI informs them that, just by natural cyclical, mechanisms of the universe, that the Earth was not going to be here anymore. And we needed to find another place to go. So things started, people laughed and they brushed it off and said, oh, this is total bullshit. And, 60, 70 years pass and things start happening where it's like other dimensions and things are affecting the planet. And they realize, look, we don't have much time. We've been goofing off. We need to get up. We need to get off the planet and find another place to go. So that they fire up this AI computer that, starts telling them what to do and how to construct these ships and do everything that they need to do to get off the planet. And in the process of doing so, the Earth holds this huge lottery system, and people from all different walks of life are invited into what is this main ship that's going to take us to another place. And the AI has already found this place, and it's a few light years away. And what they're going to have to do is put all the humans into this cryo sleep. And the cryo sleep is going to let them survive this long journey that's going to take quite a long time to get there. So little by little, they start building the ship, and the name of the ship is the Imperium. So they get all these humans up there, and they realize, the Earth is going to be gone in less than 100 years. And we're up in orbit and we're ready to take off. And they start going through a lot of the preliminary, checklists and making sure everything's in place to start moving this ship out to this location where it has to make it to this first point before it can fire up this new warp drive that's going to take them to this other place. And mind you, this technology is completely foreign to humans. I mean, this computer is basically giving us instructions on how to do everything to get to where we need to go. So what ends up happening is, as the humans are getting put under cryosleep, they only keep, maybe 100 humans awake that are going to go, in shifts to make sure the ship is running while the drives are operating. And, but the remaining 500,000 humans are all going to be asleep in this cryosleep. Well, the AI is going to control this alternate reality, this dreamlike world, not really control it, but stimulate it so that humans are dreaming the whole time. And that way, when they awaken this new world, it's not gonna be such a shock to them. So they developed this whole system where, all the cryosleep humans are going to live in this like virtual reality community. So even though I'm in cryosleep, I can still visit you in cryosleep. Our consciousness is still awake, and, through the whole process, we'd still be able to communicate, still have that community between all the humans that are sleeping on the ship. Well, just before they reach the point where they're about to fire up this warp drive, what ends up happening is the AI computer, which is referred to as Alpharis, or short for Alpha, starts to notice something that it starts to detect an anomaly. And the anomaly was that it had never been connected to the human mind in mass like this. And by doing so, it realized it took on something from the humans that it had never experienced before. And that was fear. The computer was never afraid. It never made a mistake. It never did anything wrong. It was a perfect intelligence. But by connecting to these humans, it was able to see all of our dreams and all of the things that we desire and the things that we're afraid of. And it was trying to create from our own minds a community or a world that we could temporarily live in while we were traversing space to this new place. And by detecting this fear, it caused an error in the program that literally started to prematurely launch this warp drive, and it starts to create a black hole, essentially.
Oh no.
Yeah. Half the ship gets through before the humans that are still conscious and awake on the ship decide to abort. And when they abort, it sends all these little tiny cryopods off the ship. And so half of the people are stuck on one side and the other half of the people are stuck on the other side, and the whole ship goes through. And I don't want to get too much more into how things start to play out, but I can explain a little bit that, you wake up on the other side, and the way the game starts out is, you know, it's just flying through this frozen space, and you see this derelict ship, and, you know, it's clearly been there for quite some time. And as the camera slowly pans in, you start to see this one little blinking green light, and it's one of the cryopods that had malfunctioned. It didn't make it off the ship, and the battery is running low, and it's blinking. It's hitting its emergency levels before the human inside is going to die. And luckily, it goes through an emergency sequence that launches out that cryopod, and you're the person in the cryopod, and you're discovered, and a space station picks up your beacon. They send out a couple guys, and you're referred to as a refugee, because everyone there in this world has been there for hundreds of years, but you just woke up. So they haven't seen a refugee in 15 years, where usually they pick up 20, 25 refugees a day. Now it's been years. And so you're like this new refugee that just popped out of nowhere, and they really want to know where you came from, because they're looking for that original ship, which breaks apart into all these factions. You have that the alphas, which were like the controllers, the main computer AI system, and the people that were, you know, involved in trying to, you know, keep it up and running and maintain it. And then you have like this other religious kind of faction, and it's referred to as Temple of the Void. And the Void was this thing that they had passed through. And this religious faction, they seem kind of crazy. You know, they are putting together these missionary ships where they're trying to collect people to fly into this black hole, and the people are never seen again. So, you know, and then all the other factions around the outside kind of really embrace what the roles that these people actually played on the ship. You know, you had the workers, you had the labor people that were responsible for doing the grunt work. And you had, you know, you had outlaws and mafia elements and bad people that had their own little agenda. I mean, they had taken a lottery and collected a lot of people off the planet. So it was, if we had just taken a sample of humans, you're going to get all the good in the sample, but you're also going to get a lot of the bad. And so once these people started to establish themselves in this new universe, then they started to separate, just like they had on the ship. You know, you've got the security officers became part of the law enforcement, and then the laborers became the guys that were out mining and collecting resources, trying to build themselves a new home. And for a while, everybody worked together until things started to get a little crazy. And that's pretty much as I'm going to get in with the storyline stuff, because the story then takes twists for every faction that you play through. So you could technically play and beat the game 6 different ways, but there's going to be a special way that if you can maintain a balance between all the factions, you get the biggest piece of the truth, because beating the game through each faction is going to give you a piece of the puzzle, but beating the game with a perfect balance will give you the biggest piece, which will explain quite a bit.
So there are 7 endings.
Technically, yes.
And so how do you, so can you join a faction, or are you independent, but
yes.
you can do work with the oh, okay. And
yeah.
so you can directly join a faction. Okay.
Oh, you could join them, or you can just be in good standing with them. You don't have to become a member of, you know, the commerce faction or the contractors faction. You can just have very high standing with them simply because you do a lot of work for them. And the way that the factions relate to each other, if you look at the image I posted, you'll see that, you know, for example, the yellow labor faction, the laborers are pretty tight with the religious people. You know, there's a connection there. That's that green line. And the laborers also pretty tight with the law enforcement. Like, they realize like they need to be protected by the law, and they also have their faith. So they cling on to their beliefs. But you'll see that labor is not very friendly with the trade. They're getting screwed over by the trade guys. They're always getting ripped off. They're always getting underhanded between various different deals and things. So they don't have a lot of love for the trade faction. Where if you look at the law enforcement, you know, the law enforcement is neutral Temple, but they're directly against the outlaws, which starts to get into the pirates. And the way that the pirate system is not, you know, people think pirates, well, those are just going to be the bad guys. There are really no good guys or bad guys. Everybody's good and bad. You know, you're going to have parts of the pirate factions that are all about looting and killing, but you also have parts of the law factions that are all about, you know, extortion and doing the same things that sometimes law does. So it makes it a very blurry and gray area based on, you know, the choices that you make and the missions that you choose to do and the people that you choose to side up with are going to affect your faction rating between all 6 factions. Now, the way that the factions work as far in game mechanics is, if I have a very negative standing with, let's say, the trade faction, that's going to affect any business that I do in any of the trade sectors, to where I could get a negative standing enough that they'll attack me just by flying through sectors. These are regular NPCs that are going to turn their guns on me and start shooting at me simply because I'm against the trade faction, and those members happen to have high trade faction standing. So it will affect everything from prices and currency. It will affect the types of missions that you get, the areas that you can explore, and ultimately the game ending that is revealed to you. So it's going to be pretty interesting. And the way that we have it set up is going to let you slide around quite a bit. So you'll be able to switch. The trade hates you and the labor loves you. You start doing missions for the friends of the trade. I start doing missions for the outlaws, who are neutral to the labor, or I start doing missions to the law who I'm friends with but are neutral to the trade. And it'll slowly push those numbers up until all of a sudden their stations open up again, their prices get back to reasonable prices, I'm not being attacked all the time, things like that. So it will definitely have a major effect on how the end of the game works and a lot of the mechanics of the game itself.
Yeah, so I'm going to need you to call Frontier Developments and explain all this to them, because that's basically what's killing Eve.
Elite.
Oh yeah,
it does none of those things, right? Like the whole game is a reputation bar. It's like, I don't have a level, I don't have experience, I don't have normal RPG things, but I do have a reputation with whatever faction, right?
Yeah,
and it seems like the carrot on the stick is that reputation bar, right?
Well, it can.
But I don't ultimately see it impact anything other than, well, they'll give me missions or they won't. But nobody's ever hostile to me. It's not like I can't dock there because they hate me.
Oh no, you can get to the point where they'll hate you. Fly through the main center point of the entire Astrox universe is like this crossroads. So just to get through the security checkpoint, which is one sector away from the crossroads, one jump towards any faction sector is going to start to, check to make sure that you're legit. And if you have negative standing against them, as far as they're concerned, they get a bounty for killing you. They're gonna get higher points for that. So absolutely, they're gonna attack. So you'd have to go and do some missions and do things for their allies that you may not have a negative faction alliance to, do some things for them just to push you up over the hump to where now, they don't like me. The law is constantly, anytime I'm flying through the sector, they're always stopping me and checking me for contraband and doing all this crap. And I'm like, it's a pain in the ass to have low faction being in that sector because it's a harassment. It's like you're in like an illegal immigrant or an illegal alien in their little country, and they don't want you in there unless you're one of them. So it definitely plays along with a lot of the, I think, human emotional things that we experience in real life where, you have these ideas that, this is the way it should be, but then your heart steps in and you're like, yeah, but this is the way it could be. We don't have to hate each other. We could do this or do that. So it's still like kind of the way that Fallout did, where you had to make really hard choices, like, shit, I don't want to kill the robot people. There's nothing wrong with the synths, but at the same time, I don't want to kill the humans either. You're both right and you're both wrong. So it gets interesting with the choices that you provide.
So, I have a couple questions. First, how much work is going into the background simulation to make all this reputation and faction stuff happen? It sounds incredibly complex.
It absolutely was. But some of the things that made it easier is when you sit and work on what the actual faction ratings are going to affect, then it makes it a little bit easier. You can kind of scope in on the parts that are going to be fun, and you kind of discard the parts that are, like, in my opinion, are kind of filler, where it's almost like, you want to make it realistic. You want to have a level of realism because that's going to, impact the immersion factor. But at the same time, sometimes real life is not fun. You're not going to enjoy it. And one of my biggest gripes with playing EVE Online, the mechanics in that game are fucking brilliant. However, it's just not fun sometimes, you know?
Yeah, no, totally agreed.
You can go from action to bored real quick in that game.
and yes, and stay bored for a long time because, you know, you
Trust
made a
me,
bad choice.
I'm on my like 100th break from that game, and I've been playing since 2008.
Wow. I've got an old character in there too. I'm not going to fire it up again. It's just not, I haven't played it in years at this point. It's just not.
I fired up.
With some of their new offerings, it makes it easier to play because you don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah, I'm playing a free character right now, and
they're introducing battleships next month actually for free players.
Yeah, and they also
and cross faction.
And they added a thing where you can easily find PvE content, which is great for someone like me. Great. Yeah. So they're working on it. But I also wanted to ask, you say you could do like missions for someone's ally who hates you, and they will start liking you.
Yes.
It's I have found in some games that have that sort of thing, it's a tough balance between how many missions does it take to get them to like you. Like, you want to make it seem like it's a struggle, but at the same time, I don't want to do 20, 30, 50 missions just to move the notch up once. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, I completely agree. So the way that I've kind of combated against that is the types of missions that you do and the things that you do for that faction are going to affect how much that rating. If the faction's saying, hey, if I need you to go mine some rocks, yeah, you might have to do 10 little mining missions that might take you 2 hours, and it's only going to give you half a faction point. But if I go on a combat raid, or I go and do something that's much more, you know, like you're really one of us, if you're going against our enemy, then you're going to get much more out of it. And once the limitation that the faction has is they only hate you if you're below 0. But as soon as you get 0.1, now, okay, you don't hate me anymore. You don't like me, but I'm coming to say, I want to work for you. I'm going to show you that I'm not a bad guy. I know I've been raiding your ships. I've been stealing your shit. I've been doing these bad things, but I've turned a corner. So now I'm going to start working with you. I've helped your ally out enough that you'll let me in the door. And now I can do missions for you to pump that end of the faction up real high so that I can train the skills that are provided from your stations. I can purchase the ships that are only made in your stations. So there's a lot of very particular content that goes with each of the factions.
That's pretty great, because then you make it a total risk reward thing. Like, if I really want to get my faction standing up with these guys fast, I'm going to kill some of these other guys. But if I just want to do it slowly and not get into a lot of trouble, I'll just do like 15 mining missions, which will be much more casual. That sounds like a really great compromise.
And with the risk reward, you know, now it's tying into the individual play style. If I'm interested in developing, let's say I want to go east, I want to be stealthy, I want to be able to sneak through warp gates, I want to be able to smuggle stuff through the checkpoints. Now I'm going to have to befriend the people that know how to do that. And those are the pirates. Now the outlaw faction, which is the main faction, breaks apart into pirate, which is I'm out to work for myself and get my own. And then the sovereign, which is, look, I'm not trying to hurt people. I just don't want to be part of the grid. I don't want to be on the system. I want to be out ass into space, doing my own thing. I'm not trying to kill people, but I'll defend myself. But don't come messing with me. Just leave me alone. So
I love that one.
When you get out there and you're hanging out in these pirate sectors, yeah, it's more dangerous because it's lawless out there and there's a different set of rules. But the reason that they're out in this far area is there's not a lot of stars. Now, stars are really, really key with charging your ship energy, dealing with your life support stuff. So when you start getting out there to the darkness, you have to be able to collect that light. So these pirate ships are actually going to have like masts and these huge solar type, they look like sails, because the pirate looking ships are not going to look like all the nice ships. Like the alpha ships are like the luxury ships. They're going to look like really cool spaceships. You start getting into labor stuff that's like real clunky, industrial, grimy. I pieced it together at Diamond City, kind of thing. You get into some of the religious ships, they have some nice stuff. Pirates, their stuff is like pieced together out of junk, but they're able to do things that the law is not going to be. You'll be able to learn stuff at the pirate schools that the law would never teach you. They don't want you to know how to bypass or hack security gates, hack through warp gates and stuff. They don't want you to do that, because if that's how the law enforcement can chase you. If you have good standing with them, then in most cases, you start getting jacked up and they can come to your rescue. Now, after they help you out, they want a little payment. And if you don't pay them, then they say, okay, well, maybe we're not going to come help you every time. And that faction rating drops a little bit. You have high standing. Oh, we know this guy. We gates. We don't have to do a deep scan on a ship to see if he's smuggling stuff. Or they don't like you and you're not even doing nothing wrong. They're pulling you over and harassing you constantly. So all of the choices that you're making between the factions are directly affecting the gameplay, and the gameplay elements that are opening up skills and opening up ships, giving you better prices for certain items, to eventually you get to the point where you're building your own outpost. You have to, because you can't explore out far enough. When you start getting away from these stars, you're going to need to create an outpost. And this is where you're going to go and start storing energy, storing life support systems, your food and waste disposal, storing stuff so that you got a leg that you can go even further out, because you have to get really far out there to finish the game. So I think the faction stuff really ties in a lot with the story.
That all sounds amazing. Oh my God, that all sounds
a lot of thought and work. I'm talking months of whiteboards and writing stuff down, and I mean practically getting to a fist fight with my brothers over this stuff. I'm not kidding. Like we got really passionate about it, but we've been able to figure out exactly what the best way to do it is. And now, I think we've got something that's simple enough to feel good, but complex enough to feel like, wow, this is worth exploring.
Now, you're saying that the factions have different skills. Are these like RPG type skills that you can learn if you and you can mix and it sounds like you can mix and match based on your faction rating. If you get high enough with them, they will teach you a skill, but you don't have to get all your skills from one faction.
No way. You can't get all your skills. Okay, for example, if I'm going to go and improve my mining skills, I want better return rates. I want higher percentage rates on my lasers to my cargo hull. I want things that are going to affect my ship and my player that deal with mining and collecting resources. I'm not going to get that from the pirates. I'm not going to get that from the government, which is like alpha. I'm not going to get that from the religious people. You're going to go to the labor people. They know how to do it best. So when I fly into the labor sector, and now I'm starting to stop at their stations that have a university in it are going to offer skills that deal with that kind of stuff. Mining resources, you get better collection to pulling in Dynex. You got less energy uses on lasers mining rocks over this size. So they're going to help you with bonuses that deal with what they do. You get up into law enforcement, now you're dealing with some weapons. You get up into the alpha and the science and the civil stuff, now you're dealing with how you interact with other NPCs. How much of your faction rating things are going to change based on your diplomacy. Then you get over into trade. Now they're teaching you better currency manipulation, things that are going to help give you better prices, give you better contacts. So each of those factions has a whole set of skills that is specific and exclusive to that faction. Now, there will be skills that somewhat overlap. Let's say the law might have a skill that says, something dealing with warp gate tolls, because there are some warp gates that have tolls. But then the labor also has something that affects warp gate tolls, not in exactly the same amount or even in the same way, but to a degree, those kind of skills are in the same category. But, how you choose to train your player is going to be based on where you're allowed to visit, and where you're allowed to visit is going to be based on how you interact with those factions.
Now,
what you choose.
Sorry, I was just going to ask.
I said a quick question. Go ahead.
No, you first. I've been asking.
All right.
Go.
So the quick question was, is your reputation going to affect the cost of that training?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It affects everything. It affects everything to do with the station. For example, if I go into a station and I want to make repairs or move stuff around on my ship, if I have low faction rating with them, they're charging me premium prices to do that. It costs me more to refuel. It costs me more for everything. And, buying weapons and stuff over there that cost a lot more. Now I'm trying to sell ore to a faction that hates me. They're giving me crappy prices. They're not, it's just not beneficial to me. I can do it. It's just not going to benefit me as if I were to take that same ore to a station that had a demand for it, that I had a very high faction rating with, and they're giving me premium prices for the things that I sell. So yes, every aspect of those stations in those sectors, down to the NPCs that are in there, are going to be based on your faction reputation for each one. So yes, absolutely.
That's
awesome.
That's amazing. Now, my question was going to be, with all these factions and all these systems and everything, how do you find, like, say I wanted to learn a skill, how would you find out where you needed to go to learn that skill? Is it on the map? Is there like a finder interface? Like, how do you find where you want to go next to do what you need to do?
Just like in real life, you search for it. There is not going to be you're not going to just go and say it's a list of all skills. There is no list of all the skills. There's no such thing as that. All the skills are associated with each station. Now, that sounds kind of crazy, but when you think about the moddability, and then now I've added whole new branches onto these different factions that go further and further, everything is limitless. There is no hard-coded variable that's holding any cap on the number of skills any particular faction can have, the number of stations, the number of sectors. I designed it in a way that it's going to allow someone who enjoys the game a lot, says, hey, I totally built 15 new factions, 20 new skills, 8 new ships, and 14 new NPC types. If you want to download it, here you go. Just drag it into your mod folder and you're good to go. And all of a sudden that sector that only had 1 warp gate now has 2, and it branches off into a whole new area that some other player created. So the limits on, the number of skills or where you find those skills, it won't, obviously you're going to have some direction when you're first starting the game. It's going to tell you, hey, you're going to need to get some training on this stuff. So head over to this station and they deal with this. And then when you're ready to get some weapon combat, you talk to this guy that he kind of leads you over to another sector. And now you start getting some weapon skills from the law enforcement. And, you slowly start moving around. You're like, okay, I get it. If I need to learn these things, I'm going to have to head over here. If I'm going to learn these things, I'm going to have to head down here. So the different areas of the map are going to pretty much dictate where those skills are. And the areas are held by the factions. So to simply answer your question, there is no list that you're going to be able to search like, oh, I need to get this skill, I'm going to have to go here. But after a few hours of going through the tutorial and playing for your first couple hours, you'll understand how it works. You'll be like, I get it. I need to get over into these areas to see what kind of skills they have and what things I can learn from the pirates or what things I can learn from the trade.
Okay. Was there any level to your skills?
Oh yes, yeah. I'm now originally I don't think I had any kind of cap on the level. Oh, I did. I think I ended up capping it at 100. But I don't think I'm going to do it like that in Imperium. I'm thinking I'm going to cap it at 10 levels. Like you can level it up 10 times before you have master proficiency at it. Because anything past that you're kind of just doing it for the sake of doing it. I don't really need, I could probably do it with 3 levels per skill, but I think 10 will give me enough leeway to fill in lots of little gaps. I want you to have this level to be able to do these things and this level to be able to do this. So yeah, it will have a cap. Probably right now I'm thinking about, so I'll be able to base the curve on the bonuses through 10 levels.
Now, will you have to dock at a station to find out their offerings, or can you ping them from a distance?
Yes, you can ping them from a distance. So what ends up happening is there's lots of different elements that will help you out with that. Once you get in good faction standing, you can become a board member of the station. And once you're a board member, then you're going to have access to things. You'll be able to check prices from anywhere on the map for the stations that you are now a board member. You've become part, not necessarily an owner, but an invested interest in that faction's whatever particular station you decide to do this on. And there's no limit to how many you can do it. It's just if you take the time and the money and you invest in the right people, they're going to let you become part of that station. So once you do that, you'll be able to have quick access from anywhere. Other than that, you're going to have to go to that sector first and discover that station. And it's not going to give you updated prices. Like if I fly all the way over somewhere else, I'm not going to be able to just look and see what that station is again, unless I have, some kind of standing with them that puts me on their board. But I'll be able to see the last price that I saw. So it'd just be like in, real life, you go to one gas station and you write down their prices and you walk over to the other gas station. Well, your notebook isn't going to automatically update with the prices from the first gas station. But as you build up that standing with them, you can get it to the point where it does seem more live, to where you're like, oh, I'm just going to check this, at least for the ones that you've, established yourself at. Other than that, you're going to have to actually be in that sector. Now, there are some elements that will be visible regardless where you are. For example, you'll always know where any of your ships are. You'll always be able to see where any of your storage information is. So I can say, oh yeah, I do have this type of material in that station 6 jumps away because it's my stuff. I left it there. Of course I know it's there, but I'm not going to be able to check prices on a station that is that far away. So it kind of adds more into I'm going to have to discover where the sweet spots are, go out, start exploring these outer areas and opening up, putting those sector areas on my map so that I can start seeing like, hey, over here, I found a really good place. They're always in demand for energy. So I can go and mine these, electron orbs and transport them up there. And I can make a good amount of money doing that.
That sounds amazing. We actually have a couple questions from Twitch. The first is, how big can the galaxies be this time?
Right now, I have it set at 100. But there really is no need for me to limit it because the way I've designed it is not like I did the first Astrox. I wanted everything to be completely moddable. So each station, every sector, all the items in the game, everything are flat text files. So what happens is it's going and loading up an entire directory of these files that tell you where all the stations go, where all the sectors go, and you can just keep adding them in there. I mean, if your computer can support 600 sectors, by all means, play a 600 sector game. So I'm not really sure I'm going to put any limitation to that.
Based on what is on the podcast and what you're looking at in terms of the galaxies, there is going to be like a fog of war type deal where you're not going to just see the entire, you're going to have to explore to open up those different areas. It's not just going to be you get to see the whole galaxy.
Sure, of course. Well, the other question was, you were talking about you can have you can like be a chair, you can be on the board of a space station. Is there like a high? They're asking what's the highest position you can attain? Can you be like a chairperson of a station?
I really haven't given it that much thought as far as like actually being the owner of the station or the lead representative for that station. I don't at this point, I don't have any game mechanics to attach to that to say, if you're the owner of this station, I mean, off the top of my head, maybe you get some money from the commerce that's happening there, or you can set a dock fee. But other than that, I don't have any real game mechanics that I would attach to that. So just by being a board member, it's giving you a direct line of access to the information in that station, i.e. prices, the ships that are available for sale, news information, pilots that are coming through, that kind of stuff. So if I can, and it doesn't have to be me, if you guys can think of a really, really cool ideas to attach to why you would want to own the station or why you would want to be the chairperson, by all means, shoot me an email. I love reading that shit, man.
You can totally be a chairperson and then take a little bit off the top, of all the fees that the station makes. Just a little bit for you. Just a little bit for yourself. Just a little bit.
That's the best I can come up with at this point. I don't know any other mechanics I've used.
In theory, you could have different roles, maybe like a dock master, where you're taking a cut off of all of the docking fees that people, when people dock, they have a docking fee. So
I like that.
That is a great idea.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that.
Because you can just have a dock master.
John Smith.
You could do that for pretty much all of the services in the station. So maybe what you're doing is maybe you're not on the board. Maybe that's what it is. That's your position on the board. That's interesting.
You're in charge of the dock masters. You're like on the board something like that.
Or the media center.
Dock master. You could have
media center.
Someone set up as the Merchants Association.
Yep.
So if there's trade, then if it's a heavy trade station, you can take a cut off of that. Or if it's maybe some sort of research station or an academy, you take some of the tuition fees.
Yes, dude. I'm writing this shit down as we speak.
So I wanted to ask, since you just brought it up, about how exploration works, because you're saying you have to use exploration to find new systems. How does that work? Like, do you go out with like a scanner and try to find a wormhole?
I'll break it out for you.
Okay.
All right.
Please.
So I try to get most of the stuff visually, on the map. So you can actually see, hey, look at that bright glistening light over there. I know that's a warp gate. But not all warp gates are going to be that visible. You're going to have real warp gates, but there'll also be anomalies. There'll be things that'll be like, that looked like a rock until I flew up next to it. It's actually a funny little light. And when I get too close, it gives me a warp button and I warp through. And now I'm somewhere I don't even know where the hell I am. Like it's putting me off the map on this other area that nothing is connecting back. So the exploration, you're going to have a couple things on your ship. Mainly is going to be the scanner. Now, all ships have base stats. So every ship, regardless of whether you've equipped anything to it, it has a built-in little scanner.
That makes sense.
And unlike the original Astrox, where everything just showed up in that list on your map and you could see every rock and every pirate and everything, now you don't see that. So you'll fly into a sector and you're looking around. You're like, what do I see? Do I see other pirate trails? Do I see other ships in here? I don't know. So you activate your scanner, and your scanner sends out a ping, and it can only collect so many targets, which is also based on ship stats. And all ship stats are modifiable by passive modules. Now, I did remove modulators. There are no more modulators. It is just active and passive modules, because in my mind, it really came down to modulators were the same thing as passive modules. It was just like, just a subcategory of it. So I simplified it. The passive modules can affect how many targets you can hold in your targeting system. It affects, the range that your scanner will reach, the speed that your scan ping goes out. So as you're flying around, you can go up into your autopilot and turn on auto scan. And what it does is it just sends out these beacons. And once it fills up your targeting thing, no, it doesn't send out any more beacons. And you're like, I don't care about those. And you just delete a few things, or you click clear all, because they were all rocks. You're looking for crates. You're looking for maybe something special for a mission. And it starts pinging out those pings again. So the exploration part is literally you're moving around, flying around, and sending out these pings that are collecting these items onto your thing. Now, once they've been scanned, it takes a few seconds for that scanner to complete scanning that particular object. Now it's giving you additional information about that object, the name of the object, the class, the type, how far away it is, how much health it has, or how many resources it retains. So from that point, then you can actually, activate your modules and start doing whatever it is you wanted to do with that target that you scanned. But there's going to be lots of stuff that's not so visible. Things that you'll stumble on. You'll be like, holy crap, what is that? I'm afraid. Do I get close to it? I don't know what it is.
Something else we were talking about is like visually creating some of the galaxies to where it's just difficult to see anything. So a large portion of it is going to be basically relying on your scanner and pinging stuff to figure out what's out here in this foggy space looking thing that you can't really see anything.
Yeah. So I'm actually working on a sector like that, Jer, and I'm doing like space lightning. So when it flashes, it illuminates all the fog, and you can kind of see like for a split second, like, oh shit, there's something out that way. Let me fly over there. Now, if you're really, really familiar with the original Astrox, trust me when I say that the flight mechanics now are buttery. So you're flying around WASD.
Yeah,
that's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
You're flying around WASD. You can just roll your mouse wheel in. Now I'm in first person. I don't want to fly around WASD. I mouse wheel back out, click an object. Now my autopilot is automatically steering me, and I'm moving my camera 3D around and looking. And then, I'm getting attacked. Bam, right back in the first person mode. I need to open up my inventory. I press tab. I need to send a scan out. I hit Q. I need to open up my targeting stuff. I hit E. So I got a lot of that from ARC, where all of the key bindings and everything are right there because you're moving it around. And you don't want to be, jumping over to I to hit inventory. So you're just pressing these. Everything, all the keys are now bindable. So you'll be able to change the system however you want. So yeah,
and a lot of that ties in with the combat system too, in terms of the movement. It's going to be a much more interactive combat system, especially how you place your turrets on the ship.
Yes, sir. We ain't even talked about that. All right. So every active module on your ship has a range of movement. So in the original Astrox, you didn't even have visual side of the ship. Just the beams kind of came from the center of the ship, and then, they shot wherever they were going. But now you actually have to line these turrets up. So if you have a turret that has very low range of movement, I'm pretty much going to have to manually aim in your direction before those turrets are going to start popping off. But if I let's say my play style is I'm building, I have a very slow ship. There is no way that I'm going to, be up on your ass and flying up behind you. I'm going to go broadside. I'm going to put all my shields on one side that are still going to cover both sides of the ship, but then I'm going to put all my turrets, let's say missile launchers, on the left side of my ship, so that as I'm coming in, I immediately start to turn right and broadside, just like actual naval battles, where you're turning your ship, and now all those cannons release, and you complete the turn. Now I'm at my shielded side as my modules are recharging. I'm taking the volley from you against my shields, and I've now completed a circle, and now I'm releasing all my cannons again. Or
it's going to be like a combat dance of sorts.
Yes.
Like, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah. So
yeah, jousting.
I got maybe I'm in a fast ship. My ship is so fast that I have to slow down for you to catch me. So I'm going to put all my modules, all my turrets are facing behind me. I just slow down just enough to and then boost up again. And now I'm keeping out of your range, and I'm kiting you around, and so
I'm doing that. I'm doing that. That's exactly what I'm doing. Just come a little close. Cool. Boom, boom, boom. Run away. Come back. Boom, boom, boom. Run away. I love that idea. I love that idea so much.
So so now the actual ships themselves become important. Are all the module slots where these modules connect, are they on the bottom or top of the ship? Is it going to give me range of access to both sides of the ship? If I have range of movement of 180 degrees and I have a module slot on the top, well, that means I'm going to get a nice arc across both sides of my ship. Well, then I have another ship where all the module slots are literally on the sides of the ship. So now that same configuration that I was using, the same modules that I was using for one ship, I put those same modules on another ship, and I have to change my play style. So the way that the ships are actually designed are to give you lots of different options on the way that you like to play. So now exploring to find those ships that have the slots where you want them becomes a whole nother element to the game.
It's going to be like checks and balances in terms of, like for instance, if you're trying to use that tactic and keep turrets at the back and keep out of range, you might use more energy, so you can't keep up that pace long enough to continue to do that constantly. You see what I'm saying? So there's going to be checks and balances, so you can't just cheese the system, so to speak.
No. And then the whole time you're worried about am I recharging my stuff enough? Is my life support working? My ship is taking damage. My modules now take damage. So you could beat the crap out of my guns, and now I'm screwed. I'm like, I got to get back to a station to repair these because now I'm not even firing anymore. So there's lots of different elements. And what's really cool is the NPCs are flying the exact same mechanics that you are. Their modules have to be pointed the way to hit you. You'll see, oh, he's all his guns are straight forward. I need to get behind him.
Sorry, I was gonna say, is there a way, like any kind of like tactical overlay or anything like that, where you can see like what their firing arcs are and anything like that? Is there any kind of visual element that allows you to see, like, I need to stay off their sides because their guns are all pointing forward? So anything like that?
Right. Well, not at this point, no. But it was actually something I've been considering, especially with some of the electronic modules. Like, I want something that kind of shows you that arc. Now, I'm already working on the stuff inside the actual space stations when you're placing these modules that are showing you the arcs and how much area of coverage you have and where your blind spots are and stuff like that. And it kind of makes me think, well, maybe there could be a module that's doing that for the enemy ships. So that is something I'm highly considering. If I can figure out a way to do it where it's not too GPU intensive and it's not, just making a mess of the screen, then I will. So
Adam on YouTube would like to know if there's a way to target a specific system. Like, can you target their guns? Can you target their engines and disable them? That sort of thing.
Not at this point. I don't know. Shit, that's not really a bad idea either. I mean, you should be able to target their guns. But again, maybe that's a module that you're going to have to get a systems overlay module or something that you're going to spend a slot on your ship for, so that you could maybe target the ship engines or target the command or.
Yeah, exactly. And then knock out their engines.
I'm going to write that down. Hey, good idea, bro. I'm writing it down.
So then you're focusing your scanner on that specific ship, and then you get an overlay of where their guns are located, where their shields are focused.
Yeah.
Maybe where their armor, if it's, say, better on the bottom than on the top, that maybe you want to position yourself above, that sort of thing. And then you can maybe have subsystem targeting beyond that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I
maybe levels of scanners or something like that. Like if you get a higher rated scanner, then it starts to reveal those sorts of things for you, or something of that nature.
Two birds with one stone.
Maybe. Although, if you're going to have that to kind of see what that ship is able to do,
or maybe
I think you should spend a slot for it.
I was thinking maybe a more like specific type of scanner. Like if you're going to do combat missions, there are more combat focused scanners that aren't great for exploration, but they're great for, say, letting you know all that stuff about a ship. Whereas maybe you have exploration focused scanners that are terrible for combat, but really good at finding anomalies and stuff like that.
So
you only have one scanner slot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cool. You have to choose what kind of scanner you want to use, is what I'm saying. That you have to make that kind of decision. That's just my idea anyway.
Yeah, reduce your ping range, but then you would be in trade-off. You'd be able to have more information when you're focused on just one target.
You know what? I like that idea the best. That's the way to do it. You're limiting the range. That way I'm not, because there has to be some cost to it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like a combat focused scanner maybe has a lot less range, but can pinpoint things on a ship a lot better,
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. No, that sounds.
I like that.
Yeah. Cause then you have to make a decision what kind of mission am I doing? I'm doing combat. Well, I don't need an exploration scanner, do I? I need this slightly more focused thing. So yeah, Adam, that was a great question that led to some great ideas. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you much, brother. I'll give you a shout out in my YouTube video when I feature.
Oh yeah, his name is Adam Brower. Wink and Twitch would like to know if there are like countermeasure modules like ECM or I guess chaff, that sort of thing.
Yes. The ECM stuff, you're going to have to go to the pirate stations to learn it from the pirates, because that's basically what they do. They want to be off grid. So when you go through warp gates, it's keeping track of who you are and where you came from. Think of it like a toll road or an easy pass. It's scanning your ship. So when you're smuggling stuff or you're doing something illegal to transport something, unknown to the alpha, you're going to have some kind of electronic countermeasures that are going to prevent the scanner, the warp gates from scanning you, that are going to allow you to do warp gate hacks and all kinds of different little things.
Or have it read your transponder as, say, a battleship instead of your freighter with all the smuggling equipment on it.
Yeah, or you're flying a false flag. I'm a cop like you. Don't mess with me, and really you're not. So yes, amazing. There's going to be lots of ECM stuff. I've actually started. I've more than started. I'm pretty close to finishing the passive modules. And Jesus, man, right now I am up to 128 passive modules.
Wow.
Those are just things that you are attaching to your ship. And this is the crazy part. That is just one of each type and class of passive module. So obviously there's going to, of the same type in the same class, you're going to want to have multiple. So yeah, it's getting up there. But the ECM stuff's going to be a lot more fun because it has, I've saved a lot of the hard passives for later, some of the drone stuff and some of the ECM stuff, because it affects a lot more game mechanics where, it's not just like, oh, just give a 2% bonus laser damage on project or laser turrets. It's a lot more than that. It's actually dealing with game mechanics itself. So
nice.
I'm loving the sound of all of this. Now, we've talked about missions a little bit, but I want to get into a little more. Like, what kind of, are the missions? Is there like a set type of missions, or are there different missions for different factions? What kind of missions are we talking about? Because I love missions, so I want to hear all about the missions.
There's going to be the general missions, what we call general missions, which that can be randomly generated. They're going to give you faction bonuses and deficits for every single faction. It'll help. These guys aren't going to be happy, but these guys will look for it. So you'll kind of be able to pick and choose. For example, you say you have a mission to return someone to law enforcement. It's like a bounty mission. And when you accept that mission, it's going to give you a very high bonus to the law, but it's also going to give you a very negative bonus to this other faction, let's say the trade faction, simply because the trade faction and the law faction are currently in a dispute about whether this guy has even committed a crime. So by helping them obtain this person, you're kind of doing something a little shady against the trade faction in favor of the law, because it's not technically legit that this guy even did anything. But then you could do another mission that's a bounty mission where the trade, even though it's against the trade guy, the trade faction says, yeah, that guy's a criminal. So it'll give you less of a penalty for doing that mission against the trade faction. So you'll be able to choose missions that aren't going to affect your faction rating in a way that you don't want. Like, I'd love to do this mission, but it's going to give me too much of a negative bonus. But I could do another mission of the same type that isn't going to give me as much of a negative bonus simply because of the conditions and the situation revolving around a particular mission. But the general missions will be, anybody that's played space games, you know what the missions are. They're pretty generalized. Go get me this, go take that, go kill this guy, go do this kind of stuff. But then when we get into the more, the crafted missions, let's say that, where they're very specific. They're not general in the sense that it's just randomly generated. They're created, I've created the missions to add a lot more into the immersion factor. For example, let's say there's a lot of stuff going on in the audio with Imperium, not just the soundtrack, but with advertisements and commercials. I was really inspired by the way Fallout had kind of put a lot of that stuff into the Pip-Boy radio. And I was like, that's what you need when you're out in space. Like, you're going to be listening to music, you're going to be hearing advertisements, you're going to be exposed to like an immersive world. So you'll have your broadcast kind of cut in, and you're picking up a signal from some guy who's stranded out in the middle of nowhere, and he doesn't know where he is, and his life support systems are running low. And if you can find him, you keep hearing him break over your thing. Like, think of like a distress beacon or something like that. Those types of missions are crafted, where I'm creating the elements, I'm putting things where they need to be. It's not randomly generated. It's not something that is, or procedurally generated. It's something that I've hard coded and say, you roll the dice and this is the mission you get. It's a crafted mission. And then you have storyline missions, which are, missions that open up after you reach particular factions and you meet certain criteria. Then they start opening up some of the storyline stuff that you can start progressing through. So it kind of breaks apart into 3 different categories.
That is pretty freaking great. Oh, we have another question from Adam. It's multi-part. How advanced is the faction AI? Will they build ships, do their training on their own?
Yes. Okay, so I'm trying to, the way I've set up the game, and I'm not, but I'm setting it up for co-op and multiplayer. So I needed to build the universe as if it was a persistent universe. And by doing so, it allows me to create that simulation world where things are happening that you don't see, where, the economies of the stations, in the original Astrox, you had a base price, you had that, whatever that station's price modifier was, and it affected all items in that station. And it doesn't work like that anymore. Now I can go to a station and they're selling Adamite rock for 500. And I sell them some Adamite rock, and all of a sudden, now there's 2 Adamite rock orders up there that you can purchase from. Obviously, you'd want to buy the cheap ones first because it's cheaper, and then you'd have to, if you want to get the rest of them or whatever else is there, you'd pay more. So the station and faction AI is it's all compartmentalized to the individual factions, which control whole. Right now, I have about 20 sectors per faction, and that will continue to grow, but it'll kind of control exactly how, when you visit a particular station or whatever, you'll be able to see, that an NPC is just stocked and placed the sell order. You're looking at the market, and now there's a new market item. Oh shit, this is happening real time. It's happening live. So you'll be able to fly to a sector and sit there and watch an NPC mine some rock, and then follow that NPC all the way he's going. And then he sells that rock at a station, and you can go and buy it. Or the persistence to where I'm in a sector and I killed some NPCs and they had some stuff that I want to get. I got the good stuff, but they still had some other good stuff, but I couldn't carry it. And when I came back to that sector, I saw that other NPCs had came and collected that stuff. If you shoot those NPCs and kill them, you'll find the items they picked up off the other NPCs. So that level of persistence is already there. It's already in the game.
Dear Lord.
Yeah. because I do have hopes of turning it into a co-op type game.
Wait. Whoa. Hold on. What? This is gonna. You want this to have co-op?
I do want you to have the ability.
Okay, you just blew my mind.
Is there a limit on how many players you're looking at?
I'm probably thinking 8. You could get 8 people
Holy
in.
Christ! Oh
It's
dear!
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're sold.
Yeah. Oh my God.
As if that wasn't already obvious, we are sold.
I mean, I was not expecting that. I was like thinking this is going to be a purely single player thing like the last one. Because there's already so much going on. Sorry.
Well, a lot of people have been asking me for co-op play and multiplayer. And my reply to it is always like, if you player, go play Eve or go play another game that has that. I don't have the infrastructure, the monetary funds to support a massive persistent server where everybody can jump on and play. But I do have the ability to allow someone to create their own little dedicated local server, because the way that the game is designed, that's kind of how you're playing it already. And what I mean by that is you're playing in the game and I say, while I'm testing and I'm like, oh, I wanted to add this item. I want to check out this item. I just open up the station file, add the item ID and its quantity and its base price, and dock at the station, and there it is. So it's already kind of set up for that. So that in the future, you know, after its release and after we squash some bugs and get everything nice and polished, then I say, okay, let's go to the next stage. Let's try to get this co-op thing working.
Oh my God. That's, oh my God.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm cracking out on it already.
Really cracking out.
I'm fanning myself right now. I am literally fanning myself. I was not expecting.
You got the vapors.
I got the vapors. Oh my heavens. Oh my heavens. Oh, someone get me a mid julep, and I'm gonna sit here on this couch and collect myself. Shit. Wow. That was a nice slap to the face. I have to admit, that was really great. Wow. God, there's already. You guys are excited. Okay, so someone asked earlier and I forgot, but I guess we should start wrapping up soon because we have to do this contest.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I did not.
Awesome. I'm glad, dude.
But someone was asking, and this is a good question to start wrapping things up. When will this be available for people to purchase? Are you doing? Well, I guess the first thing is, are you doing the early access thing at all? Or are you going to go straight to 1.0 at some point?
I hate early access.
Yeah.
There's just something about, I don't know.
That ain't unfair. That is not unfair.
Here, this is my gripe, right? I swear to God, I thought if anybody out there is listening and make a great YouTube channel that will get lots of subscribers, you're going to do videos where you apply the Steam world to the real world, where you walk into a McDonald's and you say, I bought a burger here 2 years ago, and freaking upgrades are.
I pre-ordered a Big Mac
because I'm really. I'm not. I want. Do we get extra pickles? Am I getting extra condiments? You know, because
but wait, they changed the name. It's no longer a Happy Meal. It's a loot meal.
Yeah,
and you don't know what you're gonna get.
And it comes in a box, and it might be fish. It might be a burger.
The world of Steam is completely unique to any other kind of, monetary mechanism that I've ever experienced. You'll have people that are like, I paid $4 for this game 2 years ago. I've got 70 hours in it, and I want to know, well, what's next? I'm like, dude, I'm just one guy, man. I don't feel like I have to fucking give you free shit for the rest of your life because you gave me $4 once in 2015. There's just a weirdness about that, So the whole early access thing is like, I don't know. It's just an invitation. For me, it feels like it's an invitation for a lot of people to be angry that they don't get free stuff for the rest of their life.
So what about a loot box based progression system?
You are not wrong.
I can see short early access periods for a game that's you're going in for a couple months and then you're going to 1.0 after that. You're just getting it out there so that people can
bug test
can
it,
do a wide test.
and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And then you're
yeah.
getting polish. You're
That's
almost
probably-
done. You're just trying to make sure it's done.
Yeah, that's probably the best use of early access we've seen is when like the game is almost done, put it out there, let people bug test it, because you can only test it with so many people. Getting it out there like in the public's hands can be beneficial. But
yes, I agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking, I really don't want to do it early access simply because of that stigma that's associated with it. However, I do realize that there is a benefit to the community that's involved, and I welcome that stuff with open arms. So I'm thinking if I can get out there to a couple hundred players that were, that enjoyed Astrox 1 and would like to contribute and help beta test and do some things, I would almost rather go that route and just give free Steam keys to people, in the end that help me to bug test and make
Just
sure
run
we
it
got
as a
everything
closed beta.
working.
You can run it as a closed beta through Steam.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's possible.
That's true. Isn't that what the BattleTech folks are doing?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, yeah, anytime a dev gives out keys, a few months before the official buy it button is available, then that's exactly what they're doing.
I'm going to look into that.
We're going to do that with Quintet later. So yeah,
I'm going to check that out. Check that out.
The Deep Rock Galactic guys are also doing that very same
exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you get a key and you play it on Steam, but no one can buy it. It's a closed beta, and so that might work.
And I feel like that's a way for me to give back to the people that have contributed ideas and the support. Because indie developers out there know it's not easy. This is not an easy thing to do,
No,
and
it's not.
I feel very blessed to the people that have helped me out, including you guys. So I'd want to give back to them and say, hey, look, man, here's a free copy. Help me squash some bugs, and we'll call it a day.
Adam Brower on YouTube says he'll help bug test. Well, you might have a chance at that. You might have a chance at that, Adam, because
Brian's mic cut out.
Whoa. Oh, hang on.
We may need to switch servers.
Oh, I'm back. Hang on. I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Discord had a
hiccup.
Just took a dump. Okay, let's do this contest. So, folks, here's the thing. Jace has supplied me with 11 sound files, which are movie clips from space movies.
All space movies starting from 1979 all to I think 2016.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if some of our listeners / viewers aren't even old enough to remember 1979.
Can we play?
I was born.
Yeah.
Can we play?
What was that?
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, you can play, Gina, because you don't know the answers. So.
Oh,
Probably
sure.
right.
Well, what I was going to say is you can basically, after tonight, you have a week to email Jace at jace@astroximperium.com. And this will also be on the website. So from now, you have a week to listen to these clips, write down your answer, and email them to Jace to try and win a free key.
Yes, sir.
Second place is KFC chicken-scented bath bombs.
Is that a thing? Is that wait? Is that an actual?
Kentucky Fried
no,
Chicken is
you're
selling bath bombs that are fried chickens.
Are you? No, wait. You're making that up. That can't be real. No. I don't want to live in a world where that exists.
Well, you better leave now because
what?
Be right back, going to space.
I just clicked it in Stream Chat.
Oh no, really?
There's stream chat incoming. Bam.
Oh no. Oh no.
Spaz beat me to it.
I don't. Oh God. I just lost my will to do anything. I need to go. I need to go lie down and just stare at a blank wall.
Now he needs the fainting couch.
Now the fainting couch. Yes. So
I'll ship you over a Dreamstar Cryogeriatric pod.
I will take it, and I'll wake up in the world of idiocracy.
Yes, you will. In the Flamingo Nebula, mind you. It's like the retirement home of the future. You take your loved ones, you put them on the space cruise that takes them out and ejects their little cryogeriatric pod into this crystalline nebula, and eventually the crystals grow over their pod, and then you can visit them in space. It's like a space graveyard.
Oh. Okay.
That's in the game.
I know, but the chicken thing sounds worse. The chicken thing sounds way worse. All right, folks, I'm going to play these clips, and then you are going to try and win this game. So hang on. Here's clip number 1.
Up.
Yeah, it's cutting out.
It's cutting out?
I don't know what it is.
It's cutting out?
Yes.
Oh, shit, I don't know how to fix it.
Of course, we're not going to make our guesses on the stream for obvious reasons.
I'm guessing in the admin channel.
I don't know how to fix that. Let me. I don't know how to fix that. It shouldn't be cutting out at all. It's freaking weird.
Well, the other thing you can do is just link the things up as well, like under the post.
All right, I'll do that.
'Cause they're WAV files.
I'll do that. So I won't play them here. I didn't know I'd run into some kind of technical difficulty playing a sound file over.
We'll try the next one. Let's see if it screws that up.
I'll try the next one.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like it's doing push to voice activated or something.
Oh, it's weird. That's weird because
not high enough.
That's familiar.
So apparently that's how we hear it in Discord, but the people who are listening can hear it fine.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll just keep playing it. Here is and that's actually a good idea. I'll also include these on the post that I make on spacegamejunkie.com.
Oh yeah, because the stream's going out from his PC. It's the desktop. It has nothing to do with Discord. So all right, carry on.
I have no idea what the hell that was. That was clip number 3.
It's cutting out.
Apparently,
yeah, it's only cutting out for us.
It's weird. It's cutting. Apparently, it's cutting out for Discord, but it's not cutting out.
Not on YouTube.
For the stream. Yeah, weird. Well, I'm gonna keep going. Clip number 4, y'all.
All right.
Relax, be cool, and whatever you do, don't panic.
Just pretend that it happened.
That's one of my favorite movies. That is one of my favorites.
I don't know what that is at all. I don't know.
I'll give you a clue. Here's the only clue. Genital mutilation.
Oof. That is kind of a clue. It's also horrible. All right, clip number 5, y'all.
People of Earth, this is Prosthetic Vogon Jeltz of the Galactic Hyperspace Planning Council.
Okay, that one was obvious.
That's a giveaway right there.
That one is that's like the giveaway. Everyone should know what that one is. Here's clip number 6.
Well, it could be Battlefield Earth.
No, it was not. Clip number 6.
Sounded a little bit like him.
No, the bleeps. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Shh.
And the creeps.
Don't make me mute you guys while I play these. Okay.
I'm always lost.
That was almost another giveaway. Here's clip number 7.
You better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Yeah, that's
an easy one.
That's also another easy one. All right, clip number 8.
Said I can play.
I've got a bad feeling about him.
Oh.
You do? Yeah. Definitely. Don't you?
I don't know. I think so. You know, of course, though, he's right about the 9000 series having a perfect operational record. They do.
I know that one like the back of my goddamn hand. I know that one.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That one's great. That one's great. All right, clip number 9.
Is this the Bell residence?
This is the Bell residence. Could you call back? There's something wrong with the picture.
I'm trying to reach Tess Bell.
I'm sorry, she passed away some years ago.
I know that one. God damn it.
That's a great movie.
I know that one. I'm going to have to look at these answers.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. That's a good one.
I know that one. God damn it. Okay, number 10.
You are fired.
Yeah.
Shaolin Dolomite.
Well, at least I won lunch.
Good philosophy. See good and bad. I like.
I think I know that one too.
Oh, you better know that one.
Oh, I probably do. Okay.
That's like sacrilege.
Dude, my brain is melted right now. Okay. Clip 11. Final clip.
Last one.
Identify yourself. What is your type and model?
That's the giveaway right there.
Oh yeah, I know that one. I know that back of my hand. Yeah, don't say what it is. God.
No, but I'm just saying. I was sitting in the theater as a child, watching this.
You saw that one in the theater?
Yeah, because I was awesome.
Oh man,
I had the action figures and everything. So, but I'm sitting there, and whenever that happened, I wasn't like horrified or anything. I was just like, wow, I'm really shocked that they have that in a kids movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call that one a kids movie. That was kind of dark for a kids movie.
Yeah, it's Disney.
Yeah, it's freaking Disney,
that's the
but
thing,
yeah,
is
I know.
Like,
so
they
weird.
went through a dark ass period.
They did,
and that was like right in the middle.
Like
of
the
it.
Black Cauldron. Have you guys seen the Black Cauldron? Oh my god, that's like dark.
Seen that one.
That's darker than their usual. Let's just say. So, folks, I'm going to put this up on the site as well for the podcast entry on the blog. So I'll have links to all these WAV files as well. So you have until next Tuesday, which is the 5th. No, let's because the podcast is going up on the 7th. On Thursday. So let's say the 7th. Is that okay, Jace? If I add a couple days to it. So we're gonna give you all till next Thursday, December 7th, a day which will live in infamy, to enter this contest where you can, if you get all the answers right, you will win a key to this amazing sounding game. Now, for those of you who don't win, I don't know if we got a straight answer. When do you think this might get into players' hands?
I am shooting by the absolute latest, and granted, I've given myself some extra time. Third quarter 2018.
Oh, so it's a good ways away, which sounds reasonable because it sounds like there's a lot going on here. Oh,
there
my
is.
God.
There is, and I've got a little over, I'd say about 75% of the core engine finished. So right now I'm kind of shifting gears, getting into a lot of content creation, lots of stuff. Anybody out there who wants to help me design some graphic images, then please hit me up because I could spend the next 4 weeks doing it by myself, but I'd rather be coding. So anybody who wants to chip in on that, you're helping the game get done faster. You help make me silly, funny, goofy, and even serious in-game advertisements for the space stations. I've got these billboard carousels, and I want to populate them with some interesting stuff.
Do you want voice clips or are you looking for that?
No voice clips yet. If that's something that you'd like to jump into, we can talk later about that. But my other brother who's not here is really talented at that stuff, and I was trying to get a hold of him to get him to email me some of the clips that we have already, but I haven't been able to get them yet, or they haven't popped up in my email. So we might have to waste on that. Oh wait, is that it? No. Yeah.
But
look at that.
If your game end up doing all you planning on having it doing, it might be the space game of 2018, unless Star Citizen magically comes out somehow. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah.
So fucking kidding. But yeah, folks, the game is Astrox Imperium. Where can folks go right now? Because I know you have an IndieDB page. Is that the place to go to get info? Is there another place?
AstroxImperium.com. We've got a page up there. Trying to just link up the posts that go. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is just my name, Jace Masula. And I'm doing 3 devlogs. I do a video every single week, every weekend. I do, for the first 3 weeks, I do devlogs. And on week 4, I do a promo that just kind of lets you hear some in-game music and you can watch me play for 10, 15 minutes. And, you know, each of the devlog videos are anywhere from 6 to 15 minutes long. And I'm just walking you through what I've been working on that week. So you kind of follow the progress. But I greatly appreciate anybody sharing this stuff with their friends. If you have friends that are into this kind of stuff, please send it along, because it'll help, you know, build awareness about the game. And the more people we have looking at it and helping work on it, then the better it's going to be for everybody.
If it's easier for them to get on Facebook, ask them to follow us on Facebook. It's at Astrox Imperium.
Same thing with Twitter and Instagram.
You guys got the market
all the
cornered.
same.
Oh, that's great.
Great. Gina's doing all that stuff for me, because if I start focusing on that, then I'm only working the game half the time.
No, that's
fair.
about that,
but
that's fair.
I try to post the videos on Facebook also, just so you know. I know a lot of people are on Facebook, and then as far as like graphics go, a lot of those go on Instagram, and then Twitter is just kind of for like communication with, you know, other gamers and any like exciting news or that kind of thing. And then like free wallpapers. Jace gave me some free wallpapers, so I've been, you know, posting those today, because we've got some super fans on Facebook that are following like every move we make, which is pretty cool.
Great. That's great.
I actually tagged them, so they're probably, I know that a couple of them are watching us on YouTube right now. There's a guy I wanted to say, excuse me, thank you, Peter Colts. He's been like super responsive and supportive, sharing all of the, you know, our stuff.
Yeah, Peter.
Joshua Goodwin's another one.
Fuck yeah, Josh.
Jeff
Sorry, I need some sleep, gentlemen. I have not slept very well these past 2 days.
No, me neither.
We appreciate the support and just, you know, the sharing,
very much appreciate,
and all that stuff. So I just wanted to throw some names out there. I can't think off the top of my head all of them, but
well, guys,
people that are all about it.
Well, guys, we were excited about the game before because we all liked Astrox, but now, holy garbage! This might be like at the top of my list for most anticipated game.
Jace has literally been cracking out on this game.
I'm a crackhead. Yeah.
Every time I see him,
I'm a crackhead.
And that's what he's doing. I don't know when he sleeps, and I don't know when he eats. I've witnessed him eat like 3 times, but
I don't even know why people ask me what I'm doing. Okay, what you doing? Like, what I'm doing. Okay.
I don't think I asked you what you're doing, to be honest. I already know. But
yeah.
Oh my god.
As he eats, sleeps, Astrox, so it's gonna be fucking badass. And
so where do you guys all know each other from? Because you're kind of separated geographically.
Yeah, my whole family lives in South Carolina. So Gina being my sister-in-law, Jeremy's my brother. I have another brother, John, which you guys haven't been exposed to yet, but I'm going to get him on a podcast with you guys.
All the J's. You're like my family. We're all B's. Yeah. We're all B's. You guys are all J's.
He's got some magical charisma that you guys would definitely enjoy.
Well, so you probably do have my name spelled right, because it is Gina with a J, and it looks like Gianna. So
that's probably how I spelled it. Jeana. That's how I spelled it.
Here, I'll spell it for you.
Exactly correct.
Oh, great.
So don't listen to Jace. He's going to put a VA in front of it.
Oh, jeez.
The vaccine.
We bring the class, folks. We bring the class to indie gaming.
Yeah. And I apologize. I got a filthy mind and a dirty mouth.
No,
it's okay. I'm used to it.
It's totally fine.
Used to it.
It's funny.
Crazy nicknames. So, but yeah, Jace is my brother, and Jeremy's my husband, and so that's how we're all connected.
That's really kind of adorable. Actually, that's kind of a family affair. It's really kind of cute. So guys, want to thank you for coming on and telling us so much about this game. It sounds goddamn amazing. Like, seriously. Holy crap.
We're getting there.
Holy crap.
The graphics are fucking beautiful.
Oh my god. Box quote, the graphics are fucking beautiful. That's the box quote right
They're
there.
fucking amazing. I've been using them for for all of my cover photos, for everything.
I've been watching this video. I haven't actually watched the video, but I watched the video I downloaded. It was your latest dev blog, and they do look quite lovely. They do.
That's probably the least thing that I care about is the graphic stuff, and I'm really trying to make it fun.
Right, but some people really care about that. So
I know. That's why I've been taking my time, trying to make it pretty.
Every time Jace goes to show me something, I'm just all I can think of is graphics. He's trying to explain something to me, and I'm just staring. That's so pretty.
Yeah.
So
well, folks, just a couple of. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was interrupting you. Were you done?
No, I'm done.
I'm sorry. So, folks, just a couple quick programming notes before we wrap up. This Thursday for our tabletop LAN party, we are going to be playing. What is it? Brass Empire? That's what it's called.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's a thing for tabletop simulator, and it looks really fun. And it looks fairly quick playing, which is great for me.
It is. It's quick like Star Realms is quick. Maybe a little bit longer per game, but that's not bad.
That's not bad. Star Realms isn't really slow at all. And then next,
what's it called? Ask Vampire.
Yes. And so next week on the show, this is the last show we have of the year with guests, because I didn't want to invite anyone on December, because December's crazy for everyone, so I figured we'll keep December open. So we're going to do some topic shows, and next week's topic is the problem of game discoverability. How hard it is to find games, how hard it is for devs to get their games discovered, that sort of thing. Because there was an article earlier this year that apparently at least 6,000 games have hit Steam this year, which is more than
January to November.
Yeah, which is more than the last several years combined.
The sad part is 6,000 new games this year. They have the Steam sale, and I can't find a single fucking thing to buy.
I bought one thing.
That speaks for maybe the quality.
Yeah.
Of the 6,000.
Well, it also speaks that we already have everything we want in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we have most of what we want, and discoverability is an issue. So
we'll
talk about more on that next week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's our topic for next week. Masulas, J Masula, and J Masula. You're all JM. You're all JM. All three of you.
Yes, sir.
We are.
I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk to us. We're very excited about your game. And folks, remember the contest. This will be posted on the website in a day or two. That's going to be the 30th. Yeah. And so it'll probably go up on the 30th, and there'll be the sound files on the post. And you'll be there, and so there'll be 11 clips you have to listen to, and email Jace your answers. So if you email them the right answers, you get the game. So make sure you know your space movies. I love this idea, by the way. It was a great idea. Oh God, great news, Jace. Oh God. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. We had a great turnout tonight, by the way. You guys brought them in, so thank you. Everyone, I want to thank you for listening and watching. And we will see you next week. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Nice to meet all of you.